Dodge and his wife Linda are driving back home when they hear a radio broadcast informing everyone that the last-ditch effort to save humanity has failed. Unfortunately, the 70-mile-wide asteroid Matilda is scheduled to collide with Earth in 3 weeks. Despite the tragic news, Dodge maintains his composure and points out they missed their exit. Linda looks at Dodge in disbelief before running away without saying anything, leaving him for good. There are only 21 days until the asteroid hits. Dodge's life goes on as usual, even though people react differently to tragedy. Some people have even begun to offer assassination services to those who do not wish to wait for the end of the world. At the gym, Dodge notices that cell service is down and that power and water are about to be turned off. Nonetheless, Dodge drives back to work even though traffic has worsened. Dodge, an insurance salesman, attends a meeting at their work where their company simply gives away upper management executive positions. Dodge returns home to his apartment complex and checks his mailbox, which is empty. When he returns to his apartment, he hears someone vacuuming inside. Dodge assumes it's Linda, but it's just Elsa, their weekly cleaner. She smiles at him, so he invites her to stay and watch TV, but she politely declines. Dodge tells Elsa not to come back next week due to the current state of the world, but she does not take the news well, so Dodge returns it, reasoning that Elsa may be unaware of the asteroid situation or doesn't want to think about it. Dodge goes to work the next day with spider bites on his face. Then a man jumps to death and lands on Dodge's car, terrifying him. Finally, Dodge attends a party hosted by his friend Warren and his wife Diane with 14 days to go. When Diane greets him at the door, she remarks on Linda, noting how she never seemed happy with him. Dodge, however, was completely unaware of this. Dodge is now single, so Diane intends to set him up with a friend, but he isn't keen on the idea. On the other hand, Warren simply offers him a highly exclusive cigar, which he accepts. Diane tells her husband that Dodge must meet someone or he will die alone, but Warren disagrees, claiming that Dodge will not die alone because he will die with the rest of the world. On the other hand, Diane introduces him to Karen, who is dressed to the nines because she wants to wear clothes she hasn't worn yet. During dinner, everyone discusses their plans for the remaining days, and Karen expresses her admiration for Dodge. Later that night, the party gets so wild that Warren encourages the kids to drink alcohol. He even invites Dodge to have fun with him and Karen, but Dodge isn't interested. Dodge then decides to hide in the bathroom when his friends start doing hard drugs. Diane appears moments later to check on Dodge. Diane then begins to kiss him, much to Dodge's surprise, so he pushes her away quickly, pointing out that she's married to his friend. Dodge eventually returns home early to reminisce about his former life. After looking at a photo of himself and his high school sweetheart Olivia, he starts playing the harmonica. Then he notices a woman crying near the fire escape. When Dodge checks on her, she immediately begins sobbing in his arms, despite not knowing why. Penny falls asleep on Dodge's couch that night. Even when the television is turned up loud and Elsa is vacuuming in front of her, she doesn't wake up. Dodge even pinches her nose, but Penny remains motionless. Finally, Penny awakens moments later, and Dodge leads her downstairs. He then goes to a park to drink a bottle of window cleaner to drown his sorrows. Despite his attempt on his life, Dodge awakens the next day to find an abandoned dog tied to his foot and a paper saying sorry. Next, Dodge reads the lost mail that Penny returned to him and discovers a confession letter from Olivia dated months ago while watching the news about a massive riot. Dodge runs into Owen, Penny's ex-boyfriend, who immediately assumes Dodge is sleeping with Penny. Dodge advises them to leave quickly, but Penny insists on bringing a few of her music records. Penny offers to drive as they try to flee the current chaos, but they can find her car. When some people start firing guns, Owen uses Penny as a human shield to protect himself. Dodge, desperate to get away, informs Penny that he knows someone who owns a plane. He offers to take Penny to her family if she can get him out of there, so Penny drives away recklessly without Owen. They run out of gas the next day and have to walk down the road. Penny begins to feel guilty because of this, so she promises to assist him in finding his lost love. She then hails an oncoming vehicle and requests that the driver Glenn take them to Somerset, and the kind man obliges. Penny forces Glenn to share his life story on the road, and he confesses that he was planning on killing himself after learning about the end of the world. While Glenn is speaking, Dodge notices shovels in the back of his truck, which makes him suspicious. Glenn pulls over to take a leak and invites Dodge to accompany him, but he declines. Penny then takes Sorry for a walk when Glenn returns. Glenn instructs Dodge to kill Penny as soon as possible, believing him to be the hitman he hired. Dodge is confused at first, but they manage to resolve the misunderstanding. They then decide to use Glenn's truck, but because they bury the keys with him, they must dig him up again. Dodge and Penny continue driving and getting to know each other when they come across Frenzies. Darcy and Katie, the overly friendly servers, then greet them. Penny lies about Dodge's birthday as they order, so the restaurant staff surprises him with a little surprise and a couple of kisses. When things start to get out of hand, they flee the restaurant. Following that, the two have a passionate moment in the truck. He apologizes, but Penny dismisses him, saying it is bound to happen. A cop pulls them over for speeding as they drive. Dodge and Penny discover that Glenn's vehicle has a broken taillight and an expired plate number. Given the current state of the world, Penny begs the officer Wally to release them, but he refuses. As a result, they find themselves locked up. A short time later, one of the cops releases them and apologizes for Wally's behavior. He also mentions that the truck has been impounded, so he offers to drive them. However, because their destination is too far away, Penny requests that they be taken to Camden, where Speck, a military man with a bomb shelter, resides. Speck then welcomes them to his titanium-walled basement and allows Penny to communicate with her family via satellite phone. Finally, Speck informs Dodge that there is no room for him in their shelter, only for Penny. They eventually arrive at Olivia's home, but no one is there. So instead, they simply break into the house and try to make themselves home. They share a peaceful moment next to the fireplace to talk about mundane things, and as Penny talks about the things she enjoys, Dodge simply listens fondly. Penny then enters the kitchen and discovers Olivia's letters to her parents, complete with a return address. She then shows it to Dodge and tells him they'll go the next day. Instead, he simply leaves a letter for her. Penny, perplexed, continues to question him about it, but he dismisses her. Dodge realizes he has feelings for Penny, but refuses to tell her because she needs to return to her family. Dodge then turns to look at Penny in the middle of their conversation, almost hitting some people. Then, while those people are watching, they confirm their blossoming love for each other by kissing, not even feeling the need to put it into words. Finally, they also stay at the beach, joining the others and spending what little time they have left with their loved ones. Frank turns out to be Dodge's father, whom he hasn't seen in over 20 years. Dodge and Frank have some unspoken tension because of their family problems. They spend one last romantic evening together, making up for lost time. When Penny finally nods off, Dodge gently carries her to Frank's plane without even saying goodbye. Dodge confesses to a sleeping Penny that she is the love of his life before leaving. Dodge returns home and discovers a note from Karen, looking for him as Frank transports Penny back to England. He also discovers Elsa cleaning his apartment, so he yells angrily at her to leave and spend time with her family. Unfortunately, there will be none available the following week. Dodge is watching the final television broadcast when the anchorman announces that the asteroid will arrive in 16 hours. Dodge goes down to Penny's apartment to spend the rest of his time there. However, the power goes out a few moments later. Dodge becomes bothered by Sorry, so he stands up to see what he wants. Then he notices Penny has returned for him. Upset that he let her go, Penny tells Dodge that when she awoke, she forced Frank to turn around. She also tells Dodge that she just wants to be with him, which he understands. Dodge makes Penny talk about her childhood to distract her while explosions ring out in the distance. Dodge is just glad he met Penny, and as they stare into each other's eyes, the asteroid strikes.